everyone, and welcome back to Classic Comics. This is the first issue of Redcoat, one of the new series being published by Image Comics under the Ghost Machine imprint. I did a video about Ghost Machine a couple of months back. I'll put a link to that up here in the corner somewhere. So this is written by Jeff Johns with art by Brian Hitch. Now, it opens in 1775, and we start with Paul Revere riding through the countryside, warning people that the British are coming. Then he is assaulted by a group of British soldiers who start beating him. Then these fireflies show up, and they kill the soldiers. And Revere is, of course, completely baffled by what's happened. And then this man arrives to help him, and he calls this man Mr. Hancock, so I assume this is supposed to be John Hancock. And he explains that he killed them using magic. He says, that was the magics of the Founding Fathers, our means to securing life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And then we skip ahead to December 25th, 1776, Christmas Day, and we meet Simon Pure. And Simon Pure is a British soldier. And so he's sort of on the run here from from American soldiers, rather. And he flees into these woods, and he manages to evade them. How he does that in this thick snow, I don't know. You would think that would leave footprints, but whatever. He evades them somehow. And he finds this church out in the woods, and he hides there to sleep. But later he wakes up, hears voices, and he stumbles into the middle of what appears to be a mystic ritual of some kind. And this is a Freemasonry symbol, I believe. So I guess these guys in the hoods are supposed to be Freemasons, probably. And the figure on the altar here is Benjamin Franklin, and he's the subject of this spell. And so they start casting this spell, but then Pure, who's up in the rafters, he slips and falls down right into the middle of it. And he winds up being the recipient of this spell instead of Franklin, who it was meant for. And the church is kind of destroyed around him, but eventually he wakes up. And what you discover basically is the spell has made him immortal, so he can't really die. It then skips ahead to 1892, over 100 years later, and Pure makes his living as it seems like as a mercenary soldier of fortune type. And doing that, he's had or made plenty of enemies. And these men burst in, and this guy says, you killed my cousin, and they're here to get revenge for this other man's death. So he flees. Nice 2-page spread here. And he runs away. Now, as he's running, this young boy here sees him. And eventually he flees to this pub here that's run by this woman named Betsy. And he asks her for a free meal, and something to drink. But it turns out that they have history, and she's apparently, he has alienated her. She hates his guts. And it turns out she's the one who actually led these other guys to him in the first place. So they track him down. Fight ensues. But they shoot him in the chest, killing him, apparently. But then he wakes up later in a coffin. And then someone opens the coffin, and again, it's this boy who speaks German. And he says, I'm sorry, mein Freund. English is not so easy. It took me 3 days to learn it. And Pierce says, you learned English in 3 days. And he said, it should have been 2, but I've been distracted. My name is Albert Einstein. And what I said was, I require your magics to stop a great evil. So this is Albert Einstein, a young Albert Einstein, apparently. And Pierce says, look, whoever you're looking for, I'm not the guy. And he says, yes, it is you. You are the wizard. And then some of these guys show up. And again, these guys are dressed in robes and hoods, like the ones who performed the ritual back during the Revolution. And the story stops there. Nice little cliffhanger. Now, there's some extra stuff in here. There's a little write-up on Redcoat himself. There's also this graphic about this imprint, this line of comics called The Unnamed. Throughout history, unlikely and strange heroes have risen and fallen. These men and women are a mystery, their identities and lives a secret. But for a great evil to be stopped, their stories must be told. From a radioactive family man in the near future to a British assassin during the American Revolution to a robotic killing machine seeking its creator and more, they are the unnamed fighting the unknown war. And they give this timeline here, starting with Redcoat. Then there's this other character, Northerner, and he is dated in 1864, so this is during the Civil War. Then during World War II, there's this character called the Monster, and I'm guessing this is going to be some kind of Frankenstein-type character. Then in the 70s, we've got this character, Junkyard Joe, and I talked about him in my previous video because he seems to be a pretty clear takeoff on a DC character called G.I. Robot. And then in the 90s, there's this Widow X character. Then in the present, another character called First Ghost. And then, according to the timeline, in 5 years, the Unknown War begins. And then 25 years, this other character, Geiger, who is another one of the books that's been published. And I'm going to try and do a review on that as well. So, as I said in my previous video, I'm pretty sure that this Unknown War thing, I'm guessing this was some kind of a story idea that Johns had for DC Comics. And they maybe they didn't want it, or more likely they weren't going to pay him the money that he wanted. That's probably what it was. And he decided to just do it himself, because like I say, Junkyard Joe is clearly G.I. Robot. And in that other video, there was a preview for Geiger, and there was a character called the Nuclear Knight, I believe it was, and he seems to be a pretty clear takeoff on another DC character called the Atomic Knight. So I'm guessing he was originally going to do this at DC, but they turned him down for whatever reason. And, the rest of the stuff is mostly just ads for the other books. There's like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like 5 pages of ads. Overall, this is a solid first issue. The writing is engaging, and the whole premise is really interesting to me. It taps into some of the speculative history surrounding the Founding Fathers and their ties to Freemasonry. I've always found that stuff interesting, and had thought for a while that would make the basis for an interesting comic. So I'm kind of pleased to see Jeff Johns thought so too and created this character. It's sort of like the Highlander, if Highlander was a douche, basically. He's this very morally great character who's mostly just out for himself, kind of a charming rogue sort of character. And what interest does a young Albert Einstein have in Simon is the big question. And what is this great evil that he's talking about? I'm guessing that's going to connect to this whole unknown war thing, but I don't know. The art by Brian Hitch is excellent. All these Ghost Machine books have excellent talent on them. And they seem, at least certainly from the preview that I did a video on before and from this, that they're pretty high quality in terms of the writing and in terms of the art. And I plan to buy some of these other Ghost Machine books too, perhaps. And just the talent on the book alone really kind of sets it above most of what's being published these days. And in this first issue, at least, Johns and Hitchens are putting forth just really good work here. So if you're not enthused, as I am, by most of what comic companies are publishing now, I suggest giving this a try, as it looks very, very promising. I will give this issue a definite thumbs up. Let me know what you thought of my review in the comments. And if you've read Redcoat yourself, let me know what you thought of it as well. Also, please do like this video and sub to the channel and check out some of my other videos. And I will see you all next time. Thanks for watching.